Let's go. Teamless Tuesday, first one of the year. It is massive, massive news coming out of this one. Only 4 games to talk about. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the team list for Vegas, and then we'll jump into the team list for next week and what we're predicting for those team lists as well. So let's get right into it. First up, rolling in, we have the Raiders and the Warriors. Now, for Raiders and the Warriors, this is a game that we weren't expecting too many curveballs for team lists. So these team lists aren't too crazy, but I'm just going to jump to a few things. First thing I've got to acknowledge here is Chanel Harris-Tavita. He's in the halves there over a couple of guys that we thought might get that spot. So Tanner Boyd, Tamari Martin, these types of players. It's very surprising to see CHT in that spot. But we'll jump into the Raiders first, and we'll go to the Warriors. If you have questions as well, whether it's for your team, particular questions, whether it's the team list, all that sort of thing as well, I'll answer those between team lists too. So that's a bit of the flow we have today. So first up, Raiders. So KO Weeks. We've got Tamale, Tomoko, Chris, and Savage in the back line there. Then Ethan Strange, Jamal Fogarty in the halves. Now, Tamale on the wing is interesting news. It's not what we were expecting. A lot of people were talking about him at center, but there was always that potentially go to wing as well. So that's an interesting one. It means that Albert Hopewadi comes in and potentially could come in maybe for Seb Chris as well. There's a bit of potential for that. So let's keep an eye on that. But I think that Tamale, it's a good round one fixture, right? So he plays that first game. He's a very good loophole option. And because he's been named on the wing now, he has dual position for center and wing fullback as well. So for mine, he's a pretty strong option to start the year with at 300K. I'm probably going to try and find a way to get him into my side at this stage. Rolling through, Tomoko could be value. KO Weeks, few guys like him. I'm not a fan of the lack of base stats, but I can see the upside. And then in the halves, Fogarty could be value as well. You could also make a case for Ethan Strange taking that second-year leap, but I really think Fogarty is probably the bigger play there. Forward pack, Corey Horsburgh, starting at prop. So the Horsburgh is at prop. Now, Corey Horsburgh's historical numbers at prop are 51 points in 48 minutes. This bench here has Owen Paddy, who's a bench hooker, Simi Sasangi, who probably doesn't really play middle forward much, Josh Papali'i and Arda Mariota, who probably aren't going to eat up a lot of minutes themselves either. So Papali'i, legendary player, but a bit older. And Mariota's not beating the door down either. So I look at this team and I think, you know what? Corey Horsburgh, he could probably push out that 50 minutes. So Corey Horsburgh, I think he's a guy you could jot down for about a 50 average. And at 550K, it's not insane value, right? It's not insane value. So he's not a must-have, but he feels a bit like Tom Flegler last year, right? Where if a few things go right, he could absolutely light up to start the year. Flegler unfortunately had that injury, but Corey Horsburgh is a guy who might find his way back into my side. Now, next guy I want to talk about here as well is Zach Hosking. So on the Hosking front, he is in this team without Matty Nicholson, right? And I was sure we were going to have Matty Nicholson on this bench, but he's not even on the extended. So I don't know if there's something going on with Matty Nicholson. Maybe it was just never the plan. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention to Canberra because I just didn't think Hosking would be here. But now we're here. And suddenly Hosking becomes a pod that you can look at because he's named there. He probably doesn't lose too many minutes. Maybe Sasangi takes a few minutes off him if things go wrong. But other than that, Zach Hosking could be a guy that you start with round one. It's a very high upside, but also a bit of risk in it, kind of pod moves. So I don't mind Hosking. We'll cover that too. I'm going to cover the Warriors, then I'll jump into some questions from you guys as well. But for the Warriors, we've got interesting backlines. So Tuapiki, Roger Tuivasa-Shecker on the wings there. CNK, then we've got Leia Tower and Pompey in the centers, which is pretty exciting to see. They're both a couple of bruising, big running centers there. CHT and Metcalf. This is great news for Metcalf, right? So CHT is a guy who he's a strong football player, like a tough guy, but doesn't eat up a lot of the stats. Not a big kicker of the ball, doesn't dominate the ball. It feels like the kind of halves combo where CHT will come in, he'll be a good defensive half, and then Metcalf will be that guy who steers the ship and does all the kicking. So we already have Metcalf. We already have Metcalf in our teams, but I am more excited about Metcalf now. That's kind of where I'm at with this. He's a guy who, put him into your starting side, by the way. So when you're setting your roster up, he should be in that starting team for you for round one. In the forwards for the Warriors, Fisher, Harris, and Barnett are both options that could be interesting. We'll talk about it in a sec, though, because the bench is worth noting. The back row is Capewell, Niokora, Aaron Clark's at lock, so Clark could be a pod as well. It's just risky, right? Because Clark in one of those trial games played like 25 minutes, and then Walker came on for 55. So you can't really trust what's going to go on there. But overall, I think in the forward pack, Fisher Harris is value. I don't think it's enough value to go with to start. Mitch Barnett is also a bit of value. But again, there's he was so good last year, so can he keep that up? Aaron Clark's a bit of value too. Bench, Walker eats up a lot of minutes. To be honest, Jackson Ford's a good footballer. He eats up a bunch of minutes too. And then Vaimaga and Halasima. Halasima's been really good in the trials, so he's a guy who could steal some decent prop minutes as well. So I just don't know if I want to start with any of these Warriors players because these are all guys who can steal pretty good minutes off the bench. And then on the extended bench, no one here really to shout home about. Obviously, Bunty Afoa, a fan favorite. Tamari Martin could sneak in as well, but outside of that, it's pretty cruisy. So, look, that's the Warriors there. I'll just jump over to answer some questions while we go through that. So, what have we got going on? Got nice, about 200 people here. That's cool. Bunch of questions. All right, let's hit these. So, mock draft. So, I will go through the remaining teams as well. So, for today, we're going to go through the named Vegas teams, and then we'll go into the predicted teams as well. So, I'll hit those too. Aaron Clark, interesting pod. Aaron Clark, yep, look, he has big upside. So if it works for you, it works for you. Corey Horsburgh, that's the one I'm more likely to take myself. I just think he's a bit safer, but Clark has massive upside too. Disappointment for those expecting both McLean brothers. I actually think this is a good thing for us, right? So if we saw both McLean brothers' names this week, the issue would have been that we would have probably picked up Jesse McLean and then he would have been dropped next week for Toe. So that's the big gamble there. At least this way we don't fall for the trap now. So we're in a good spot. The horse, Corey Horsburgh, we absolutely love it. Raiders bench is interesting. Horse and Hosking, this is really good. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going through there. So that bench for Canberra is very low minutes, which means that Horsburgh and Hosking are both options that you could seriously consider. They both play in Vegas as well, which I like too. The King is back. I appreciate it, Lewis. We're all back. We're all back. Ready to tear in. Make sure you guys join the league too. I think there's about 2,300 players in our league now, which is absolutely bonkers. So get in there. We're going to get some prizes going for that as well. Isaiah Papali'i on the bench. Gone. Sell. Don't want it. Tamale Jewel. Yeah, this is really good for us. You can see Weeks carrying it up in Vegas. Vegas is the spot where that actually happens. Yeah. So the artificial turf, I think it's a bit quicker. That's my assumption. I mean, I haven't played footy in Vegas before, but yeah, my assumption is, yeah, the artificial turf makes it a faster game. And then thoughts on Aaron Clark at lock. Could shift to hooker when Egan is tired. I'm going to go through every single question, by the way. You guys are getting it. It's been 6 months. I want to hear all the questions. So Aaron Clark at lock, yeah, the move to hooker is interesting. I don't see him going to hooker for meaningful minutes, but if Egan gets hurt, that'll pop up. So yeah, you're right. He probably could play some minutes there. Aaron Clark is a guy who you could do much worse, right? So you kind of have to choose one of these guys. So Aaron Clark, Sua Wong, Tallis Duncan. There's a bunch of players in this, Kelma Talangi, a bunch of players in that sort of bracket where you got to pick one or two of them and make your call. The big horse, yep, Hosking captain. I mean, Hosking vice captain is a really safe option for Vegas, but captain, that would be a big call. I wonder if he's running at Capewell or Niokore. I need to figure that out because if he's going at Niokore, good defender, but sometimes rush out and be beaten. Good to see you, Afax. Good to see you, man. CHT dominated kicking their last trial together. Not sure. I think they're just trying different things. It feels like Metcalf's going to be the 7 there. Tamale a must. I think he's a good option to buy. I wouldn't say he's a must because the job security has a bit of a question mark about it. But the dual position and the playing in Vegas and that loophole ability is fantastic. So I would say you probably want to get Tamale in if you can. Hopefully CHT doesn't get the goal kicking because he is yeah, last year he had some rough goal kicking, didn't he? No, he's not a goal kicker. I think he was like the 5th choice and he just got called up. So I felt bad for him that game. What do you think about dropping Isaiah Papali'i for Zach Hosking now that he's riding the bench for round 1? That is a fantastic move, mate. Absolutely agree with that. Thoughts on Cole? He's a must-have. Get him into your team. He's playing the halves at Penrith, right? So you have to get him. Even if the job security isn't all there, you just absolutely have to get him. My hope is that Wade gets tired so Aaron can take minutes. Oh, and Paddy, yeah, look, you could make the case for this. Canberra's hooker rotations are always a bit all over the place. So I don't mind this if you want the backup hooker, but I already have a couple of cheap hookers, right? So I've got Mama Zealous there. Corey Pakes is around, but Owen Paddy is at a good price. Metcalf to 800K could be a shout. Can you still change your team after the Vegas games? Good question. So you absolutely can. So what happens is the players lock when their game starts. And if a player is your captain or vice captain, they lock as well at the start of the round. So other than captain, vice captain, they can be moved around until they start playing, basically. I'm going to hit more questions in a sec, but let me hit the other team list first, guys. And then I'll just go through questions and go through the other team lists too. So what do we got? We got the Panthers and the Sharks. All right. This is a cracker of a game. So this could be a bit of a semi-final preview for this year. These two teams look really good for this year. For Penrith, we've got Dylan Edwards at fullback as expected. Then goes Casey McLean, Isaac Tungo, Luke Garner, and Paul Alamotti. Jack Cole at 6. Nathan Cleary. We broke the Cole news yesterday on Instagram. We were pretty quick with that. But I did not have any idea that Luke Garner was going to be playing center or Paul Alamotti on the wing. Absolutely bonkers. Look, the ramifications of this Jesse McLean is obviously not a guy that you are going to pick up now. So just bite the bullet there and sell him out. Don't even think about it. Luke Garner is not of interest at center either. So basically, this just removes the interest in the backline for Penrith. Jack Cole's a guy you're going to get. And you could make a case. I guess you could make a case for Isaac Tungo if you wanted to. Nathan Cleary, I think, is a must-have. Vegas, I think he's going to be really good. He's going to play big on that stage next to Jack Cole as well, a real rookie half. I reckon Nathan Cleary's a must-have, but there is always that injury risk. So if you do anti-pot him, you could get lucky with that. But other than that, I think he's absolutely fantastic. Then forward pack, Leota, Kennedy, Smith, Sorensen, Martin, Yo. Just so strange. And then the interchange, Dane Laurie, Isaiah Papali'i, Matt Eisenhuth, and Luron Patea. I don't understand why. This is a Parramatta fan speaking, right? I don't understand why Isaiah Papali'i would have taken a deal at Penrith for less money to sit on the bench. I don't really get that. I would say when he's playing well, he's one of the best back rowers in the comp, right? He won Dally M back row of the year at Parramatta. Why wouldn't he have come back to Parramatta, considering how dire our back row situation is? I don't understand why he's gone to Penrith for this role. I was really confident that he would, at some point this year, carve out that 80-minute role and just be locked in and be that guy. Now, I wasn't necessarily saying it'd happen in round one, but being on the bench, I was kind of hoping maybe he'd start and play 50 minutes and work his way up to bigger minutes. But on the bench, the only thing I can think of here is Liam Henry's out of the team. So Liam Henry's hurt, and they've gone, all right, Isaiah Papali'i, you're moving into the front row rotation this week to cover for Liam Henry. That's the only thing I can think of here, because they really don't have the backups in the forwards, right? So, yeah, no backup props down here. They lost Fisher Harris in the offseason. They lost Lenu the year before. They've lost Liam Henry here. So maybe that's what they're thinking. Isaiah Papali'i is going to play in the middle and play some decent minutes in the middle too, because, Leota obviously is not a huge minute guy. Lindsay Smith can play a few. He can sort of stay out there, but I think Papali'i is going to be that other middle forward. And then Eisenhuth, they use sort of sparingly as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe if Papali'i plays well, Liam Henry comes back and Papa goes into the edge spot, and then we're all sort of talking about how do we get him in. But until then, you can't buy Isaiah Papali'i. He's a must-sell. For the rest of the forward pack here, I really have no interest in much of this. You could make a case for Lindsay Smith if you wanted to. Isaiah Yeo is there. I just don't think it's a good place to put all your money unless you're going to buy him instead of Cleary. That's the only case there. I don't think you get Cleary and Yeo. Just too much money tied up with two guys, and you can only captain one player each week. So pick one of the two. Anyone going Cleary and Yeo, look, it's a strategy that worked well last year, stacking Yeo with a big half, but I'm going to put my sort of flag in the ground here and just say, hey, I reckon don't start with Yeo this year. That's my point. But at the same time, when he scores, 65 points in round one, 70 points in round one, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Like, he's definitely going to do that. But it's more just, if you're not captaining him, you're not getting the benefits, you might as well spread your money a little bit more. That's my view on this. For the Sharks, Will Kennedy, we got Stone Street in there. So Katoa on the wing is out for like 5 months. Like, it's something crazy. Ramian, Iro, Mulatalo. We've got Trindle and Hines. The Trindle-Hines combo we're going to talk about a bit as well. Forward pack, we have Fanua Blake, Brayley, Kafusi, Nakora, Wilton, McInnes. And then on the interchange, we've got Atkinson, Talakai, Hamlin Uele, and Hazelton. All right, so for the back line here, you could make an argument for Kale Iro having a big year. So he had a massive year last year as a rookie, and he could maybe even get to a different level this year. The Trindle and Hines combo was really bad for Nico in the trial game. So Nico looked really good, by the way. He looked good in terms of real footy form. Like, he looked fantastic, looked relaxed, very creative in attack. But He didn't goal kick, and he kicked the ball in general play way less than Trindle. So Trindle was that dominant half. Nico was more of a floating 6. That's kind of how they played last time. So for that reason, I just don't think you can start with Nico Hines. A firm no on Nico Hines. He could totally come out and prove us wrong, right? And then, we'll have to adjust. But from what I saw in the trials, I think there's a lot of risk there, not a lot of reward. He's already pretty pricey. If he was priced down at a 55, you could maybe make the case, but he's priced at a 61, so it's a bit too much. For the rest of the forward pack here, we got Fanua Blake in his new team. Now, the big thing I want to point out here is you got Fanua Blake in there. Oregon Kaufusi can steal some minutes. Cam McInnes can eat up some minutes. And then we've got, I guess, Talakai is more of a backup on the edge. He can come into the middle as well. But then Hamlin ULA and Hazelton as well. They're genuinely pretty good props in their own right too. No Toby Rudolph. I'm not sure if he's hurt or something else, but he's also a guy that can come in and steal some minutes too. So with Fanua Blake, there's a bit of talk that he'll play less minutes this year, which means I don't think you can really start with him in fantasy. But if you're in a draft league and he slides too far, he's a reliable guy. So he basically never gets injured. He, knock on wood, but he's very durable. He doesn't play Origin because he's a Kiwi, all that sort of stuff. So if you get him in a draft league, he can often be better than some of the other big names because he just plays through the whole year and keeps on pumping out big scores. So I don't mind him for a draft prospect, but I don't love him for classic. Blake Brayley, they've upgraded their middle forward rotation, so maybe he could upgrade too. Totally up to you on whether you think that's the case. I don't think it's going to be buy enough to justify buying him. Then Oregon Kaufusi's a pod in some teams. Again, I'm not buying into that. Nicole priced up. He had a big year last year. Teague Wilton, you can make a case for as a bit of a pod, coming back from injuries, so second year back from a major injury, so he could potentially bounce up with some attacking stats. Don't hate it. Then the rest of the pack, I'm not super interested in. So look, I'll hit some more questions here from you guys, and let's see. Yeah, there's a few questions. All right, cool. Let's roll through. So what have we got? We got 316 people. That's sweet. Awesome, guys. How's everyone feeling about fantasy this year, by the way? Like, just drop a note in there. You feeling confident? Do you feel like you're underprepared? You're stressed? I've released a bunch of videos last week and this week. Basically every position, one by one. Biz and I gave our top 5 at each position. So if you're really stressing out, go look at those. They have a lot of information on who you should pick up. So I have Leia Tower in my squad. Tuapiki couldn't get a spot before Saturday. I could get the spot before Saturday kickoff. I think you want to go one or the other with those two. So Leia Tower, the issue is he's very pricey, so I can't recommend him. But at the same time, I do like the talent. It's just like you kind of need him to average like 50 for that to work. So that's where I'm just not really seeing it as much. But if you like it, you like it. Finding room for Hosking and Horse, good shout. Hosking must without Matty. Yeah, look, he's not a must-have, but he's a great option and a massive pod. And he probably won't stay that much of a pod as we go forward. But Hosking's a great option. Make him your vice captain if you bring him in, and make Cleary your captain. Then you have your 2 captains playing in Vegas, so your locked players are both out of the way early, and you don't have to worry about that for the rest of the week. Is Metcalf still a must-have? Absolutely, absolutely he is. What do I think of Tarpanay's minute potential? For Tarpanay's minutes, he normally starts a bit slow for minutes, Tarpanay. So Tarpanay's a guy who I don't mind targeting around round 10 each year, but usually he starts a bit slow and he sort of works his way up. It's a pretty good forward pack, though, for him to be in because he's a bit of a different type of prop. And normally it was him and Josh Papali'i who played that really explosive, sort of attacking, aggressive style of front row footy. Josh Papali'i is sort of on the slide in terms of his minutes, bit of an older guy. But so Tapane could rise up, but I think he's more of a mid-season option. Tamale or Munro? Probably Tamale. I'd say Tamale. No Latrell. When do non-Vegas teams come out? Next week they do, next Tuesday. But I'll go through the predicted teams after this, and we can jump through those as well. Doesn't Walker eat Clark's minutes? I think so. Yeah, so I'm not into getting onto Aaron Clark at all. I just reckon it's too risky with the minutes. I think Dylan Walker's the better player of the two of them, so I think he's going to get more of the minutes. But at the same time, Aaron Clark is a fantasy PPM machine. So if you like Aaron Clark, get on Aaron Clark. It's up to you, but I just don't see it. Is Finn Fuyaki a good pod? He's all right. He's all right. If he gets the 80 minutes, he's a good option. But the question is, does he get the 80 minutes? Max Plath played edge last week. There's been a bit of shifting around at the Dolphins, so I'm not fully certain. We'll do a position updates come out just on Finn Fuyaki too. He might score a try in the first game. So he's up against Souths, who look absolutely terrible in the trials. So he might absolutely destroy them. Will dual positions updates come up? So they come out when the teams are named. So the ones for these games will come out soon. So we'll see a couple come through in the next day or so. Thoughts on Dylan Edwards over Ponga and Turbo for consistency? So 2 cases you can make here. So the plus is that they lose Jerome Luai, which means more responsibility for Dylan Edwards. He gets his hands on the ball more, all that sort of stuff. The downside is that he played a lot of last year without Nathan Cleary, where he was the goal kicker and the primary playmaker. So, he got that benefit then. It's a hard one. I personally don't think he has that much upside, but he is solid. So you could do this. Without 2 real props on the Raiders bench, could see Tarps or Horse go off. Yeah. No, they could absolutely go huge. Hopefully the Horse, big Corey Horsburgh, big minutes at prop. I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. To be honest, they should have given the goal kicking to Mitch rather than CHT. Well, it might be CHT, but in that game, Mitch Barnett, right? I get you. Yes, the guys, there was a game last year where CHT did some goal kicking and missed some absolute shockers. So yeah, he's probably not that high on the list right now. As a Raiders fan, I love seeing Owen Paddy at 14. Yeah, look, if you back the talent, actually let us know, Lewis, if you know a bit about Owen Paddy, because I got to do some research on him. Do you think he's a guy who's going to earn more and more minutes as the year goes on? And what do you think his motor's like? Could he potentially play 80 minutes at some point? We got to think about that. Pompey to take Metcalf's goal kicking? I don't think so. Even if Metcalf didn't goal kick, I still think he's a buy in the position he's in. Lol, Barnett was goal kicker at Knights. Risky move. That Raiders bench, Horsburgh, Tarpanay, or maybe both play big minutes. But look, for Horsburgh, he really only needs sort of that 50 to 55 minutes. That's the key thing for Horsburgh. So should be okay. I've always wanted to get Tarpanay. Exactly that. Wait for Origin rounds. He steps up as the year goes on. So he sort of takes some time to warm up. But at the same time, if you've got a feeling about it, it's your fantasy team. And this goes for everyone. It's your fantasy team. If you've got a gut feel, you want to go with a guy, don't listen to me. Don't listen to anyone. It's your side. That's how you win, right? You make a few of those calls that are different to everyone else. And, sometimes they blow up in your face. Sometimes they pay off. But it's your side. It's your life, all that sort of thing, right? You've got to make your moves. So Lucas and Gilbert Edge, or Lucas and Hosking. Hosking is much more exciting to me than Gilbert. So I will be probably finding a way to get Hosking into my side after we get off this live stream. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do a team reveal, by the way, later in the week, maybe tomorrow or the day after, something like that. But Hosking will probably be in my team reveal. He's just got such big upside in that edge back row spot. And Gilbert's all right, but he sort of caps out at about that 47, 48 average, so not as good. Lucas, Hosking, good shout. Do it. ABM, good to see you, mate. TBC, beast as well. Love your work. Ulu, get Tarpanay if you want, man. Yeah, look, you can, but I think Horsburgh's the better shout. Tom Starling, not with Owen Paddy on the bench. No, I wouldn't do it. Seems Ivan's loyal to Sorensen. Yeah, look, it's a strange one. I guess Papley is more capable of playing in the middle than Sorensen is as well. So there's probably a bit of that there. But if Sorensen gets hurt at some point, because he not that I want that to happen, but he picked up a lot of injuries last year. So we have to keep that in mind that Papley probably will get that spot at some point. We have to be ready to move at that stage because Papley is an absolute beast. How can you loophole Vegas players? I'll do a video separately on this. So I'll do a separate video, loophole strategy for round 1 and what I'm going to do. But basically what you want to do is you have like a Titans player in your starting side. So hypothetically, let's say you have Jaden Campbell in wing fullback or AJ Brimson, whoever it is, right? They're starting in wing fullback, and then you run someone like Mark Nwangani Tawase, for example, who plays Thursday. So not Vegas, but he plays the game after Vegas. But it could be a Vegas player as well. You put him on the emergency spots in your team. And if he plays well, his score will sub in to your starting wing fullback spot, as long as he's the top wing fullback on your edge. I'll do a video on it. It's very hard to explain verbally, but keep an eye on that. I will do a video on loophole strategy for round 1. It's very important. Then I was thinking of Starling 2. Yeah, Paddy on the bench is going to kill it, so I wouldn't do it. Cole with Laurie on the bench. I'm not worried. I think Laurie's just like an outside backup sort of player. I think he's more likely to come on, at wing at some point and Alamotti go to center. I don't know why they didn't just do Alamotti center and Laurie wing. It's a really weird team list for Penrith. I'm going to tip the Sharks, by the way. I think Penrith, this is a pretty average team. Genuinely, sit down and look at this Penrith team. And this is me massively overreacting. But it's no Brian Toe in this team. It's no Liam Henry. You lose Fisher Harris as well. It's pretty average side. Like it's fine. It's a good side, but I'm going to tip Cronulla to dust them up. I reckon that Papa is there on the bench to get introduced to the Penrith system, and about Origin time moves to the 8-minute role. I mean, hopefully that happens. You get a bit cheaper first, and then you can move up. Good to see a 2-gun 40. And then have had Alamotti in my team. Would still keep him. I mean, on the wing, it's probably not that different for him. I wouldn't have him in my team personally, but the wing doesn't really change that. When does Tamale get the wing fullback position? Really soon. So next day or two, maybe now, whenever fancy do it, but it'll happen before the end of the week. Stone Street is too expensive. That's what he is. 450k. Wouldn't do it. Great try scorer, but not a lot of base stats. Lewis Murray, they'll update it soon. Wilton, sneaky pod, I reckon, second year back from ACL. Yeah, second year back from a catastrophic injury is always a good time for a player like this. So it's a good shout. With the Canberra bench, the way it is, we consider downgrading Jacob Preston for Zach Hosking for more cash. Honestly, Preston and Hosking are pretty much the same guy as far as their fantasy profile in my head, right? So both guys who can pump out massive scores, both guys who can produce attacking stats. I think Preston's a better player in real life because Preston's unbelievable. But in general, I think they have a very similar fantasy profile. Both could lose minutes at some point to someone who probably doesn't deserve to take minutes off them. So Jamin Salmon could steal some of those Preston minutes, But yeah, I think it's good. The only risk with Hosking is the injury risk. That's the one thing there. So that's why you're getting him a bit cheaper. But yeah, I don't mind this move at all. Preston down to Hosking, use the cash for something else. I like that. Should I do Papali'i to Hosking? Yeah, absolutely. You save some cash as well. It's absolutely a no-brainer. Is this fantasy or super coach? So I'm talking about fantasy, so very fantasy focused, but it's probably the same ideas as super coach. Super coach is just a bit more attacking stat focused. So, but it's generally the same players who pop off. Also, does the Sharks bench make McInnes a serious option? No, I don't think so. Last year, they had times where they had totally depleted teams, and McInnes still got pretty disappointing minutes. So I think they're pretty set on him not playing huge minutes. I wouldn't be jumping on. I'm sad because I had a Hosking all preseason. Now everyone's going to get him. Look, Lewis, maybe, but you're a Canberra fan, so you had the inside scoop on this. You had the word. But yeah, a lot of people will jump on. Not everyone though, just a lot of people. People will get FOMO for Vegas, so they'll want to have all those players. Feels like a good year to start off with 3 to 4 studs. Yeah, I agree with that. Bit of a guns and cows strategy if you did be Rangers. This is my 3rd year, so getting better, but couldn't get through it without your content. Appreciate it, bro. Look, I have fun doing this as well. So you guys help me to do more research. So it helps me too. Fantasy seems a bit up in the air right now. Yeah, it's not certain, right? And you got to find your pods. You got to find your big pod plays here. That's the key with your team. Dylan Edwards over Ponga and Turbo, different kind of player. I would rank them Ponga, Edwards, Turbo. That's how I see it, but they're all really close. Confident of beating my PB of top 5K this year, mate. Oh, thank you. Mate, we're going to get you to top 1K, 100%. We're getting there. Gun 40, by the way, he's going to be on the team reviews video later this week as well. So if you guys do want team reviews, I think it's in the description of this video. It says something like, I will rate your team with a link there. That's how you join up and get on team reviews. Make sure you get into that soon because we're taking submissions right now and I'll film that video tonight. It'll go up tomorrow. So if you want your team reviewed, get in on the description of this video. Is IPAP a trap now that he's been named on the bench? Don't buy him. Absolute sell. Not a guy to have. Is it okay to have all the cheap halves on the extended bench for money generation despite no good positional cover? The big thing to look for there is, do you have cover for your buy rounds? Right. So if you have cover for buy rounds, that's going to be okay. Because what you need to do is you need to look at those Knights players, look at those Storm players, look at those Titans players, all that sort of thing, right? And be like, all right, can I cover them? And if you have 2 Knights players, then you need to have 2 players on the bench who can cover them. So a lot of people have Knights in the back line. That's why I use them as an example. So make sure you have enough cover for your buy rounds. But other than that, you should be okay. Is Luai even worth having? Probably not. Probably not at this stage. I mean, Luai is all right. Munster's probably got a bit more upside. But in general, because we have so many halves now, it makes them a bit less valuable, but it does make them more interesting as pods because a lot of people will not have them now. Worth downgrading Crichton or Preston to Hosking to spend money elsewhere. I would run Crichton and Hosking if I was choosing. and that's probably the two I'm going to have as well. So, yeah, I would say yes. But pick between Preston and Crichton. You'd make your own call there because it really is a coin toss between two of them. It's just personal preference. Tuolangi and Lucas or Hopgood and Best? Oh, that's hard. That's actually really hard. I mean, Hopgood and Best is surely more expensive than Tuolangi and Lucas. I mean, Hopgood and Best are the better players, but it's a hard one. I would probably go Lucas and someone that isn't Tuolangi. Lucas and Duncan, or Lucas and maybe Sua Wong. Lucas and Tuolangi if he's starting in the back row. But yeah, I'd probably go the first two. You save a bit of money there. Just joined. No worries, man. A big Raider must have. Well, let's go back to that team, right? Because a bunch of new people have joined the stream, so I can hop back over to Canberra. So just to recap for you guys, Canberra versus the Warriors. Big news out of this one. Tamale on the wing. He gets dual position now, which is fantastic. Rest of the back lines. Fine. Corey Horsburgh starting prop. Horsburgh averages 50 in 48 minutes when he plays prop, so keep that in mind. Zach Hosking starting on the edge, and we don't have Matt Nicholson on the bench. Good news. Good news for Hosking. So Sungy is a guy who can steal edge minutes, though. So I just want to temper expectations a little bit. He could potentially steal some of those. And then Owen Paddy playing off the bench, coming on for Tom Starling. So hooker rotation at Canberra is very unclear. For the Warriors, we have Tuapiki and RTS on the wings. We've got Harris Tavita in the halves. So no Tamari Martin, who is on the extended bench, and no Tanner Boyd. Luke Metcalf is a go. The goal kicking, I think he's fine. He's going to have the goal kicking. I don't think it's really a risk. Forward pack looks very similar to what we thought. We didn't get the cheapie on the edge for the Warriors. We thought we might get a cheapie there, but we did not. And Aaron Clark, Dylan Walker, what do the minute split look like there? For me, it's too murky to go for, but I see some of you love taking a gamble. So if it's a gamble you want to take, don't let me scare you off it. All right. I'm going to hop down to the bottom here just to hit these questions because some of these are coming through for Canberra. So Tamale or Cole? Cole over Tamale. Better job security, but it's pretty close. It's a good-looking Warriors team. I agree, dude. No, seriously, Jake, I agree with this. When I saw the Warriors team, and it was actually a trial game, I was just looking at the forward pack thinking, like, that's a tough pack, man. Like, would you want to run at, like, just let me throw some names at you, like James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Barnett, and Murad Niokore. Would you want to run at those dudes? Like, I would not want to run at this Warriors forward pack, right? And then you've got Egan, who's a creative hooker. The back line's pretty tough, right? So RTS to a peaky, they're both pretty dynamic on the wings, good ball runners. CNK is tough. Leia Tower, Pompey, big ball running centers. Look, the halves are very, very unproven. They're very unproven. So they're going to need Metcalf to be good. But the Warriors are underrated this year. I'm absolutely on that train. And then I'll just roll up here. I had Fish in my team, but Horse with that bench is more enticing. Yeah, look, Horsburgh, it's a good bench. It's a good bench. And he's a PPM guy. So if he plays prop, plays 55 minutes, he'll average like 55 to 50 points. So I'm pretty keen on Horsburgh. I'm too keen on all these players. What's your thoughts on Sorensen? We play 80? I don't think so. I had Sorensen a bit last year. He might play 80 minutes in this game, but when Liam Henry comes back, he will not play 80 minutes. So I wouldn't start with him. Thoughts on Bateman at the Cows? Bateman has massive upside. He had a pretty terrible day for fantasy the other day. Really poor score. But for him, I think he had some of those plays where he sort of shuffled across the field through the offload, all that. And that's the stuff I'm looking for in a trial game. I'm not really looking for the score. So I'm open to Bateman. But Hosking is probably a better option at a lower price and plays in Vegas, which you kind of like as well. Not that we need to get all the Vegas players, but Bateman's a bit lower on my list. You know, I like him, but he's a bit lower. Kelmer to Hosking, can't stand seeing too many para in my team. I mean, look, if you had 17 para players, you'd be perfect in terms of your team. But yeah, Kelmer to Hosking, I think it's a good move. Absolutely good move. Go and do it. Weaker fullback like this looks like the go. Yeah, look, weaker fullbacks. I mean, I've gone a bit cheap at wing fullback as well. So right now, that's where it stands. But I do have Jaden Campbell in my team as it stands. But I could go Ponga. You know, I'm thinking about a few different options there. So it's a tough one. Now, Tommy Talau has been fantasy relevant. Who's the new Tommy Talau? This is actually a fantastic question. Who is our player that we want to make the sort of mascot of fantasy this year? It could be Sandon Smith. That could be funny. He's been pretty bad in the trials. It could be Royce Hunt. Royce Hunt's an interesting one, actually. I kind of like Royce Hunt as a player, but his fantasy production's been bad. We'll have to find our new Tommy Talau. Drop it in the what do we call these in the live stream, like the comments. Drop it in the messages there. Who you think should be the new Tommy Talau, Purdue or Tamale? I would say Purdue is the safer option. Tom Starling is a good pod. Killed it back in the last year. He is, but he's got a bench hooker there, so I don't think he'll get enough minutes. Who do I get instead of Blaze Talangi? Jack Cole. Jack Cole. If you're looking at wing fullback, I don't mind Greg Marzu, but there's a bunch of options. Thoughts on Leia Tower? Too expensive. If he was like priced at 30, I would be into it, but he's just so expensive. But he's a good player, so he could potentially be value. It's just you'd need him to be really good for that to pay off. And personally, I'm not taking the gamble. I'm going to Brimson and Campbell for my wing fullback positions. It's a bad play. If you have two wing fullbacks on the bench, then it's not that bad. If you run Tamale on your bench and then maybe someone else, like Nwangani Tuase or someone like that who plays before a lot of players, run those two on your bench and put your Titans in your starting team. And then if you like the scores, you can leave them there and their scores will go into your starting team as auto emergencies. So I'll do a video on loopholes, but the Titans players are useful for a loophole. Starling, no, I'm not into it. Minutes won't be enough, but maybe he does play big minutes. It's just really hard to predict with Ricky. Best wing fullback under 400K. It's Yongi, right? Like Yongi's definitely the main man. Get rid of Firma for Hosking. Firma's safer and plays center. Hosking is riskier but has more upside. So it depends on your risk profile. Really, that's totally up to you. Thoughts on Hosking and Preston starting edge? Yeah, it's a good pair. It's a good attacking pair. Big upside from those two. Then thoughts on Horse starting. I'm very excited about Horsburgh starting. Yeah, he'll come back into my team 100%. Tamale or Nwangani Tuase. I really like Nwangani Tuase in that trial game. The risk here is Billy Smith is not going to play round one most likely. So we're going to see Toya and Nwangani Tuase named in round one. And one of them will probably make way for Billy Smith. So we don't know. And Tamale is a bit risky as well because we have obviously Hopewadi. He could pop up at some point too. So, God, they're both really risky, but they both have some upside. So right now, I'm probably sitting on Nwangani Tuase, but I could swap to Tamale. I'm going to go watch highlights of Tamale, I think, after this and just really see if he captivates me as a fantasy player. Rob W. We shouldn't share that one. What happened to Papali? He just got here. I think he's moved into the front row rotation, and Liam Henry's out of the team, obviously injured right now. So I think Papa's in the front row rotation. Then I'll just roll down some of these other questions. Halasima, a cheapie. Tough one. I mean, we can see the bench there. So Jackson Ford will steal some minutes. But Vi Malga and Halasima, there's going to be minutes on offer. It's just Fisher, Harris, and Barnett. They can both play huge minutes. So I don't think Halasima is going to score enough in terms of minute production. I can't bring myself to do it, but he is a talented young player and he may potentially grow into minutes as the year goes on. Just not a great opportunity behind Fisher, Harris, and Barnett. So it's up to you. If you back him, you're going to have to sort of go with a slow burn. That's my advice there. Short thoughts on Bateman. I talked about that just before. Thoughts on starting with Campbell or maybe Fifita. I think you should pick one Titans pod. That's my general line on this. Pick one Titans pod. It's up to you which one it is, but you pick one of those guys: Keeney, Campbell, Brimson, Tino, Dave Fifita, Bo Firma, whoever you like there. It's just a good thing to do because you can loophole with that guy on the bench or in the starting side. And other than loopholing, you also get a guy who basically no one owns, which is a good thing to have. Horsburgh or Seyfarth? Definitely. This is hard. Seyfarth is cheaper. So Horsburgh's going to outscore Seyfarth. I can say that with near certainty, but Horsburgh is also more expensive. I'm going Horsburgh, but Biz is going Seyfarth. So we're quite split on this. It's a really hard one to call. Horsburgh is the more talented player with better job security. Seyfarth is the more valuable fantasy producer compared to his price, but without the job security. So it's up to you. I'm going Horsburgh just for that reason. I'm backing the talent this year. Thoughts on Halasima? Went through that as well. Fisher giving 60 minutes vibes. Man, if he gets 60, he's a PPM dude. So if he gets 60, he'll score in the high 50s. That would be crazy. If you think that's going to happen, go buy Fisher Harris. Like 600K, it's not that expensive. On Paddy or Tamale. Tamale, those two. So Tamale is going to cover center and wing fullback, which is really valuable. And you don't need the spare hooker. Then Tamale or Noah, we talked about that as well. Will Tamale keep his spot? It'll probably depend on his round one game. I'm going to be completely honest. Like how he plays in this game will determine whether he keeps his spot. If he plays really well, he'll keep his spot. If he doesn't play well, he'll lose his spot. So there's a bit of a question mark over him right now. Sorensen, big minutes, big points. I love that. Just the big minute, big point. So Sorensen will not be a consistent producer. For round one, he'll probably score well, but Papali'i is currently in the middle forward rotation because Liam Henry's out of the team. That's my running theory on this. I would expect that Papali'i goes back onto the edge, or at least some minutes in the edge when Liam Henry comes back. So I wouldn't jump on Sorensen. Then where does Blaze fit into the squad? He really doesn't. But coming back from a shoulder surgery, right, Blaze Tully. So they might be bringing him back slowly. That might be what's going on here. He might take the spot off Jack Cole at some point. He might pop up at center. He might pop up on the wing. Like he could pop up anywhere. He's a very, very flexible player. But my assumption here is they're probably not rushing with him. So we'll see. Maybe in the halves. It's a hard one to predict. Can you still trade players out after the Vegas games? Yes and no. So as soon as a player's game starts, they are locked into your team, right? And that's pretty straightforward. The other thing is if they're your captain or vice captain, they're locked out at the start of the round. So they're the two things to consider there. Right, rolling through, I'm just going to see if there's any other new questions here. If Lucas is on the left and KPP is on the right, where does Frizzell play? So Frizzell was named at lock a couple of times in the trials and played in the middle. So Frizzell's basically a lock forward for the Knights right now. He may steal some minutes on the edge at some point, but I reckon they're going to run KPP and Lucas 80 minutes or close to it most weeks. So, yeah, Frizzell will stay at lock spot. Seyfarth or Hosking? Hosking over Seyfarth. I'm pretty high on Hosking. I might have Hosking and Horsburgh at this stage. It's very exciting. Would you do Humphreys or Cole? Actually, I might go and make a team. Go make a team with just players from Vegas just to get that first rank for the opening part of the round. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do that after this. Will Tamale keep his spot? Will Tamale keep his spot? I don't have anything else to add. He's going to have to play well to keep that spot. That's the thing. Stafford Toa is a good chance of getting the starting center spot at the Tigers, and he's base price. So probably Stafford Toa, I would say, just out of these two. Better job security. Gutho Pod is interesting. If he stays fit, he can absolutely produce above his price, which is about a 42. But it's risky. But St. George did look good in that trial. So if you want a super pod, you could do it. I'm not going to do it, but you totally can. Kelma, this is a lazy question, Joey. Come on. Kelma is a bit dicey. Job security is not great. I'm probably not going to do it. Turbo or KP? I'm on KP just for the fixtures and the goal kicking. That's what I'm thinking there. Pick two out of Hosking, Bateman, and Preston. I'm probably going Hosking and Preston of those two right now. Piakura will likely be on the bench. So Jezewski is the starting back rower, which can't do that. Piakura, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, sorry. You weren't asking. You were answering the Talau question. Yeah, Piakura, the new Tommy Talau. That is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. All right, Piakura is our Tommy Talau. I'll find a nice photo of him. He's going to be the Talau. And if we turn Piakura into a fantasy producer, then we know we have some sort of magic going on here. All right, cheaper alt for Gutho. Yeah. Go to I've released a wing fullback video where we talk through all the options. So jump onto that. They're all the recent videos on my profile. Hosking, Tuolangi, yeah, it's not too bad. I'm not a huge Tuolangi fan right now, but let's see the round one team list. Thoughts on Clark? I don't think the minutes will be consistent enough. That's my issue there. I say Royce Hunt replaces Tommy Talau. Yeah, good shout. Hunt could be an option. I think Piakura is just like so perfect though. Team reveal will be this week, so both Biz and I will do team reveals this week. I'm also going to do a team. Actually, do you guys want to do something now? What if we did? I went to it. Oh, we could do it live. Would you guys be interested in if we did a team that was picked by all of us? So we just did like votes on Instagram or something. Team selected by all of us, because I'm also thinking about making a team like a pod team too. By the way, none of these would be my team. it would be someone else's team, I would just help them manage it just for regulation, because you can only have one team in fantasy. But a pod team and then a team managed by all of us, and then maybe something else, like that'd be pretty fun. Let me know if you'd be keen on that. Thoughts on getting Campbell and maybe for feeder? Yeah, I think one or the other. Pick one. Titans player. Papali'i keep, no, sell Papali'i. Mark Nwani Tuase, the new Talau. I don't know. I've gotten good at saying the name, but I don't know how many times I can say it. Thoughts on Fogarty? He's value, but not extreme value. That's my answer there. And then, no worries, Break Boy. You the man. You the man. All right. Terrell May, Horsburgh, and Seyfarth starting mids. I mean, you've saved some money there. They're decent options. Let's see. Any other good questions here? Any other new ones? Sell Papali'i. Who's starting with Haas? That's a good question. A lot of people were thinking about it. He's a bit of a pod, though, so I don't mind that pod for you. Then Gilbert and Kolomatangi. Kolomatangi's a no-go unless he's at lock. Gilbert was not inspiring in the trial. I don't know. I'm not that high on Gilbert anymore. I've sort of cooled off on him. Hosking over Gilbert. Yeah, 100%. Then Zach Hosking, Lindsay Smith. Yeah. It's quality. You're very, very, very passionate. Why do I rate Hosking? So Hosking is a guy who, I'll show you guys actually. I can show you how I do these things. All right. Can you still see my screen here? Yep. All right, cool. We're going behind the scenes now. You guys are getting actually no, we're looking for footy statistics. So this is a pretty easy website you can access, footystatistics.com. Then you go Hosking. So I'm just looking at a particular player. And what's cool here is you can see he's priced at 43. You can see his historical scores. What I like to do with this is go, all right, cool. I want to see games where he started in the second row. And I want to see games where he played, say, 80 minutes. So over 70 minutes. When he plays over 70 minutes, he averages 62.6. Monstrous. That is huge. That is a massive average. If you go over, say, 60 minutes, that drops down to a 58. Still really good. If you go between, say, 60 and 70 minutes, so you think he's going to lose 15 minutes, it was a 48, so it's not as exciting. It's a bit less, but you know what I mean? You can have a look at all these things. So for Hosking, the upside is so big, right? Like if he plays that full game, it's a 62 average. You can see right here, right? And you can see what that breaks down as. So he scores a few tries, but not crazy amounts. 38 tackles a game is huge. 3.3 tackle breaks, only 2 misses. Has the offload, has an offload to hand, has also a forced turnover a game, basically, and 111 run meters. So you've got a base here. Just the 38 tackles and the run meters is about 50 points. So he's a fantastic option. I'm a big fan. So I'll just cut back across to this, and then I'll come back to you guys. I'm running this all on one computer right now, so it's pretty it's pretty clicky right now, but hopefully that's useful. I'll go through to, actually, I'm thinking about the other team list too. I might just do a video on that, like a separate video, prepare my notes. So just go, all right, my predicted team list for round 1 for the other team so that you can see what I think is going to happen. But just know, like, it's very hard to predict them accurately. Like, no one was saying Luke Garner to center. No one was saying that. It wasn't in any circles. So if you did know that news, we should become friends and you should start telling me old news. But I wasn't seeing that anywhere. Any other questions here? Can you rate my team? So rate my team. There's a link in the description here. If you want your team rated, just go to that. It's WOP, the casual athlete, WHOP, and then the casual athlete. You can jump on there and jump into rate my team. I'll be doing a video on rate my team really soon as well. How do you find stats and reserve grade? That's actually a bit harder to do. So what you can do, I'll show you that too. So I don't do it too much, right? But like if we grab, like Jarrell Skelton's played a bit of first grade, right? So it's a bit hard. So we're trying to find those reserve grade stats. So what we've got here, hopefully this is it. No, this is probably not going to be it. Let's go a player like Jack Cole, because he's played less. So normally if the player hasn't played a lot of first grade, then the reserve grade stats is what will pop up. You're looking for the profile. So Panthers here. So Jack Cole, let's see. Yeah, it's probably not it either. Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard is the answer to that, to find those reserve grade stats accurately. But usually I'll just sort of search around and try and find what I can. and then, work from there. But usually the other thing I try to do is try and chat to people who really support that team, because often the diehard fans from that team, they're going down to the games and watching every week, and they're seeing these guys in reserve grade, so they have a good assessment on these players. As an example, I'm going to get the Knighted onto the show at some point. So he's the guy with the full Newcastle sort of man cave, but absolute legend, great Newcastle analyst. And I'm going to get him to talk about how Newcastle are going to play this year, what his thoughts are there, because we want to talk about Dylan Lucas, Bradman Best, Kalen Ponga, Greg Marzu, all these players, Kai Pierce-Paul. We want to get through all those. All right, let's see. Can you start with Brimson and Campbell? I think just pick one or the other. That's my advice there. Longy, do you recommend Wade Egan has some upside considering concussion injuries last year? Yeah, he's got some upside. He's got some attacking stats in him as well. You could get lucky and he could go really well. It's just not huge upside, so that's up to you. But if you like it, I wouldn't say don't do it. So I don't mind that. So I'm starting with Otakamanu. He has the bye in round 2, and he's coming into a new team where he might play less minutes. But the trial minutes were huge, so I'm not sure what to expect. Personally, with Otakamanu, I'm excited about him. I think he'll play well off Harry Grant. He had a massive score in a trial last week, but I'm going to wait and see. I want to see that round 1 game and then not worry about the round 2 bye. That's my answer on that one. Bench Royce Hunt. Yeah, that's a pretty average bench if they're your 4. Or are you asking which one to bench? Because if it's which one to bench, I would say Royce Hunt. Just basically, Royce Hunt's never in year 17. Probably shouldn't even really be in the squad. Thoughts on Mariner? Nah, not interested. Do you reckon Yo or Tuolangi or Hopgood? Hopgood and Hosking. Hopgood and Hosking, 100%. Yo is a money drain. So I'd go Hopgood and Hosking over Yo and Tuolangi. Yeah. That's a good example of why I'm not getting Yo this year, because you can get so much more value. Then any other good questions here? I'm going to make a bunch of videos tonight, by the way, guys. So just shoot a comment. Like, this video will turn into a video after we go off, but shoot a comment in there if you have any questions, or shoot me a DM on Instagram if there's any videos you want, anything like that. I'll go through a couple more questions. What do we got? Olakau'atu or Hosking? I think Hosking has more upside. Olakau'atu is safer. So Olakau'atu is more expensive. So that's the toss up there. I think Hosking's better value, so I'm going to go Hosking. Hosking or Sewer for a draft, I would go Hosking for the upside. I'm a big Hosking fan at this stage, I think. Yep, good to see you, man. And then who's a good alternative for Yo? Man, there's so many. I made a middle forward video about this just the other day. It's got heaps of traction. So jump onto our profile. We did every position. We did a video, and me and Biz both gave our top 5 and then analyzed a bunch of other players as well. Thoughts on Cole? Definitely get Cole, must have. Cole or Toya? I think Cole over Toya, just because we know Cole has that job. What do you think the go is with Luai? I mean, he's next to Galvin, who's a pretty good half as well. So I think Luai is going to step up this year. I think he'll be close to that sort of 52 average. He's priced at a 44. So he is good value. He's a good option. Be wary of the Cleary mid-season break. Yeah, look, we don't have to worry about that too long. We can figure that out later. Do I rate AFB? I mean, I think AFB is a bit underrated right now, but so AFB, the Warriors last year was A1. He's going to the Sharks. There's talk he'll get less minutes. So he basically said he'll get less minutes. I think everyone's sort of pulled him from here, like right down to here. It's like, no, just knock it back a tiny bit, because his attacking output should be good in a really good Cronulla pack. So he's a pod. I'm not going to start with him. There's definitely not value in it, but I don't mind him in the mid-season because he doesn't play Origin and he plays really well through those weeks. Hosking and Crichton, that is such a good edge duo. That's probably what I'm going to do. It's fantastic. Risky fading Yo with Cleary in doubt. If Cleary is not playing, obviously that changes things completely, but got to do what you got to do, right? Cleary is the best player in fantasy. Yo had a career year last year. Cleary had a down year last year, and they averaged about the same. So I think that's going to, sort of really split out this year. Then any other big questions? All right, cool, guys. I'm going to do a couple of other videos. So I did post on Instagram asking for questions. It's called Casual NRL. The Instagram name is Casual NRL. That's where I will put out the feelers for like, hey, guys, ask me any questions. I'm going to do a Q&A video, all that sort of stuff. Look, otherwise, we'll do a bit of a Pimp My Team video tomorrow too. So we'll do that. There's going to be a bunch of stuff coming through, guys. So look, it's been a pleasure jumping on. A couple of exciting team lists. I can't believe we went for like an hour on 2 team lists, but hey, we love it. I'll answer this last question. Cole or Sanders bench half? I think you have to go Cole, but I think you should fit both in. So just on the halves, guys, get all the halves. That's my answer there. I think you should get all the halves that you like. So Cole, Sandon in particular, Duffy, and then Cleary, and then whoever else you want there. I don't think you should worry about it too much. Anyway, guys, that is me done and dusted for Team List. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I will see you guys on a bunch of videos. I'm going to seriously subscribe to the channel because there is so much good fantasy content coming out. We'll be doing breakdowns, my team reveal, team list analysis, my team list predictions for next week. And we've done positional breakdowns for every single position with all of the data, all the analysis, all the good stuff. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.